And for the last 7 years of that successful 15 years, I was specializing in trauma work because I was very drawn to, it really interested me to be able to work with somebody who is deeply, deeply traumatized and help them through that so that they could then get their lives back and live fulfilling, normal lives. Because I could see from my own life, having come from Africa, how trauma could actually stop every human being in their tracks. So it totally inspired me to specialize in trauma using EFT. So I would travel all over the world to the States. I pioneered EFT training in South Africa. I actually pioneered EFT training in Namibia, where I worked with the social services there. And they were able to take EFT into the outlying urban areas to women that were undernourished, families that were undernourished, very, very poor, and actually take this amazing tool to help them to give birth, to help them in their lives. And so I had a very blessed life. I ran workshops all over the world, and I could actually help people to create their own reality, what I called create their own reality. So I would have large groups of people where they would decide how their year would look. So we would start this process in January, and they would decide how they wanted to be, what their business wanted to look like, what their relationships wanted to be like by the end of the year. And I would show them how to delete or even, to release and even delete limiting beliefs that kept them, that held them back from achieving their full potential. Because in those days it was all about potential and achieving your full potential and being passionate about what you do and succeeding. And can you see the driving force in that? So I was a very driven person, extremely driven. But I was also inspired by the possibility of helping any human being reach their full potential. And then through experiences that I had in that EFT world, I began to look more also at something that was more elegant, something that was faster, something that was more beautiful, always in service of my clients. So I started an EFT coaching school because my coaching tutors were telling me, you must never ever go into the past. Has anybody experienced that? Yeah. And my therapeutic students were saying, you don't worry to take people into the future, because if you heal the past, then it will be okay. So my training was very, very specific around living in people's past. That meant that because I was an expert in trauma, I was spending a lot of time in people's past, including my own. And that meant that I was looking at the wrongness of people, fixing what was wrong, fixing what wasn't right. Not only with them, but with me. So I spent a lot of time in the wrongness of me and in the wrongness of everybody else. So no wonder after working 60 to 70 hours a week, working with my expert hat on, all the responsibility, the self-imposed, by the way, responsibility of that, and having to be a worldwide expert, the inevitable happened. And I burned out about 4 years ago. And at that time, I would have described myself as soul weary. I was exhausted in my soul. I felt as if I had nothing more to give. There was just no resource at all. And I wanted to help myself. There was something in me that was so powerful, that knew that there was a solution somewhere. It's just that I didn't know where it was, and I felt if I reached out, you know, to all the experts that I knew all over the world, they would be the ones that would be able to help me through this. So I would be phoning friends and colleagues and people who knew somebody that had a new technique, or try this might work, because all the techniques that I'd learned, and I had many, because being an expert in the energy psychology field, you're constantly looking for what's new and what will be more helpful for your clients. So I would phone people right across the world and they would say, what's the problem? I would say, I'm soul weary. I'm weary in my soul. And they would say, yes, well, this can help you. And I would spend a great deal of money, 5 or 6 sessions on something, and it would feel quite nice at the time, but didn't have any long-term benefits for me. And then out of desperation, I was searching on the internet one day, and I came across Dr. Dicken Bettinger, who immediately became my mentor in the principles. Because I looked at the principles and I read something about it, and there was something that touched my heart. Actually, the truth is, something touched my soul. And I had a session with Dicken Bettinger. In the very first session, I had a shocking insight, a shocking understanding. And that was never to work in the past with anybody. And when Dicken talked about the past, he didn't talk about 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. He was talking about a moment ago, and that was the past. So after 15 minutes of sobbing my heart out, because by this time I'd had over 5,000 clients, I'd been instrumental in the transformation of many, many lives right across the world, only to have a deep understanding that everything that I had done, in my eyes, appeared to be wrong. So I sobbed with regret. And I got over that very, very quickly, because I realized that I'd done the best that I could, given the knowledge and information that I had at the time. I went on to have those sessions with Dicken, and with each one, I deepened my understanding, my healing from this soul weariness, from this burnout, began to ease. And I began to see the truth of me. And that meant that I began to see the truth of you. And I began to see the power in every single human being that goes beyond concepts, ideas, religion, politics, to the very core of a human being, which is beauty beyond measure, which is powerful beyond my understanding. And then I began to look at resilience. And I was so inspired by this, and so deeply, deeply touched by it. It was so simple. It was so profound. And yet there was me with my expert's hat on, trying to fit the principles into my own little rules and regulations about what therapy, what coaching, what education should look like, completely missing the point. So I was one of those people that took quite a long time to come to this understanding in a deep way. The blessing for me has been that it has completely transformed my life. I would never have believed that it would be possible to work again, let alone develop a thriving practice, do training. I'm not doing the traveling that I used to do anymore, because I just don't want to do that. But what I find happening to me and to the people that I work with and the groups that I run is that a stillness comes upon us. A stillness falls upon us, which is so natural. It's not contrived in any way. It doesn't need any kind of technique to get there, because it's been there all along. So the principles for me has been a journey of uncovering and revealing that which is already within. So whereas before I would have been looking on the outside of me for happiness, for fulfillment, it was always a looking outside kind of journey for me.